This week is about contracts. This week is about contracts. You need a virtual assistant contract. Singing really took a toll on my voice. Having a contract in place is essential to ensure that you are aligned with your client and that you are both protected if anything goes wrong. Now, contracts sound scary and they can feel complicated. I want to first and foremost tell you that I use a product called Indie. We Are Indie is a freelance platform that, fortunately for us, has contract templates already pre-written from their legal team. Now, the reason I like this is because if you and I tried to copy and paste, like maybe you just Googled virtual assistant contract and then you copied and you pasted a bunch of different verbiage all together, it probably wouldn't hold up in any sort of legal scenario. And that's because I'm not a lawyer. I'm pretty sure you're not a lawyer, and if you are, I'm sorry that I just diminished your law degree, but safe to say we don't understand the legalese and the legal language that we are copying and pasting from. So it is in our best interest to actually use a template that is already designed for our industry. So that is my little pitch on Indie. Indie gives you 2 free contracts to use. Once you've sent out 2 free contracts, I think it's like $6.75 a month. It's a very inexpensive and a very good product. Now, how does a virtual assistant contract work? Essentially, virtual assistant contracts are legal documents that detail the working relationship between you and your client. The essentials that are included in a contract or should be included in your contract are your services. Your service section actually details what actions you're going to perform for your client. Another way I talk about services often, if you've watched my other videos, is scope of work. It is so important to be able to talk about and put in writing about the types of services that you will be providing, as well as the services that you won't be providing. It's important that you actually keep this scope of work specific. Because if it's too vague, that can be left open to too much interpretation and in turn can leave your clients very unhappy. I'll give you an example. If you put in your services section or your scope of work that you are, let's just say you put accounting. That's a very broad term. In its own sense, accounting is like its own job. If in your mind, you thought accounting meant I'm just going to do their expenses, like I'm just going to take their receipts and turn it into an expense report, that's very different than, for example, your client might think accounting means you're going to actually balance and then pay their taxes. Like, you see what I mean? There's this huge disconnect between paying a client's taxes or just doing their receipts. So you need to be very specific about what types of tasks you're going to be doing. And then in kind, you want to include what you won't be doing in your scope of work. The next thing you'll want to include is your term length. Term length is the amount of time that your agreement is in effect. There's really 3 main ways I can think of how you'd use this term length. Number 1, maybe a client just hired you for one specific project. So I got hired once in my career just to do video editing for a client, and that was it. So our contract stated my scope of work, what kind of stuff I'd be editing and what I was responsible for. And then for the term length, I only put project length and basically said this contract terminates as soon as I give you the video and you give me my payment, we're done. And he was very happy with that. You can also do things like a fixed term. So let's say you have a client who wants to hire you for 3 months or 6 months. That gives you a fixed term of time. Or my favorite kind of contract and my preferred kind is indefinite. What an indefinite contract means is that it will be in effect until one of you, either you as the VA or your client, decides to end the agreement. Within this indefinite clause, you should include general terms about how many days in advance you'll need to warn each other before that cancellation period. So I like to put in my contracts, I have a 30-day heads up. So if I intend to drop a client, I have to give them 30 days notice. And if a client intends to drop me, they have to give me 30 days notice. So I find that this is just a nicety to make sure that everyone is covered, no one is left scrambling, or no one is fired overnight. The next thing you'll want to include in your contract is a payment clause. So payments are kind of it's this umbrella term for your rates, how much you're going to get paid, how often you're going to get paid, how soon you will be paid after each invoice you send, and the methods in which you receive payment. All these are going to go under your payment clause, and they're here really to protect you. because it's very hard for a client to pay you if they're a little uncertain about how exactly they pay you or when you expect to get paid. So first and foremost, in this section, you're going to include your rates. So hopefully you've had a conversation with your client about if you're an hourly rate, if you're a monthly flat fee rate. But either way, you're going to include how much money you're owed for your services in this clause. And then you're going to include how often you get paid. This, since you, the VA, are a business owner, is totally up to you. You can get paid twice a month if you want, like on a bi-monthly schedule. Personally, I am paid once a month. That's just my preferred method, so that's how I charge my clients. Last thing I'll say about payments, you should have something in your contract about what to do if late fees are incurred or there's a delayed payment, or maybe your client's check or credit card, I don't know, check feels so old school nowadays, maybe their payments bounce. So there should be something in your contract as well about what to do if your client is late in paying you. This is typically like if it's 5 days late, they incur a $75 surcharge or maybe $100 surcharge. But there are other things that Indy includes in this contract that I've not touched upon. It's totally in depth. And the nice thing about Indy is that there are sections that they highlight so you can type in your specifics as you go through the contract. It could not be easier to make a contract that is specific to you and your business using Indy, so major props to them. But a few other things that they include that I want to just point out to you is equipment or expenses. So there's a clause in there that lays out who's responsible for paying fees for anything that you need to do to finish the job. I'll leave you with this. If you're still on the fence about using a contract, I want you just to think about your business. You're a professional VA, you're a business owner, and you need to protect yourself. And part of that protection means laying out your scope of work, what you will and what you won't do. And it means protecting your business, your interests, and also your client's interest too. If you happen to run into a potential client who puts their foot down and refuses to sign a contract or tells you that one is not needed, that is a major red flag. Having somebody refuse to sign means that I'm probably working with somebody who doesn't respect my boundaries or respect me as a business owner. And so I find that contracts are also a good way for weeding out bad fits, ill-fitting clients, or maybe clients who don't have your best interest in heart. So hopefully this whole video gives you a little peace of mind about contracts because they are extremely helpful. They give clarity to you, they give clarity to your client, and you'll look professional doing it the whole time. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Contracts are my jam, so if you guys have any questions about how you can best utilize contracts for your business, don't hesitate to reach out. I am always here to help. Thank you guys for watching this week's video, and I will catch you on the next one.